One Piece Blades of Fire Chapter 321-340. Chapter 321-324 The Threat of the Elders. It's really been told by you. Zhang Yang opened his eyes slowly and looked at Kakashi Road, who was silent in front of him. He didn't know that Kakashi felt that he had guessed that Folang had rescued Nico one step earlier than himself. Based on this alone, Zhang Yang admitted that he was stuck. Casey's genius is indeed well deserved. Well, it seems that I guessed right. All this must have been thought of by your psychic beast. Kakashi looked out the window with no expression on his face, as if he knew everything, and then closed the only leaking eye. Kakashi, what are you doing here? Did you hear me talking to you? Zhang Yang looked at Kakashi, so ignorant of his existence, and couldn't help but ask, while Kakashi was silent for a while, then turned to look at Zhang Yang, hesitantly said. I always feel that Orochimaru will run away. Seeing Kakashi's hesitant appearance, Zhang Yang didn't seem to know what to say, because he said that Orochimaru had no chance, but Kakashi went against him, which made Zhang Yang puzzled. Why are you so sure? The Orochi pill was suppressed by Folang in it. In addition to me, the chakra in my body has been returned. There is only one Orochi pill. What are you afraid of? After Zhang Yang told Kakashi what he was thinking, he also turned his head to look at Nico, who was sleeping, and gently stroked her face with his hand. No, I've seen your situation before, and that person didn't believe that Orochimaru could escape from his body. As a result, he died suddenly on the second day, and was killed all over his village as a puppet on the third day. The people inside. Kakashi didn't change his face even when he said these words. The expression on his face was not frightened by this kind of story. On the contrary, he looked at Zhang Yang very seriously, proving that his worries were right. Ah, you guy, really, okay, so tell me what to do. After listening to Kakashi telling this story like coaxing a child, Zhang Yang could only reluctantly compromise. The first point is that what Kakashi believes will be done, because this is related to the safety of the whole village. He had to do this to eliminate hidden dangers, and the second point that Zhang Yang considered the most was Nico's safety. If Orochimaru uses something to threaten Nico's life and force herself to hurt others, then she will be a sinner through the ages, and the history of this Hokage will not know where it will be distorted by then. Looking at Zhang Yang's helpless expression, Kakashi also let go of his serious expression, and then sighed along with Zhang Yang. I know this makes you feel helpless, but it's also for the safety of the whole village. It's a blessing that there are no dead people this time. After Zhang Yang looked at Kakashi and finished speaking, the eyes of the two faced each other for a while. Do you know what the elders said? After half a day, Kakashi suddenly thought of something, and then said to Zhang Yang. There seemed to be a hint of anxiety in his tone. Oh, elder. What did they say? When Zhang Yang heard Kakashi say that the elders thought about him, he was also a little interested, because he had not heard the evaluation of himself in the ears of others. If he could get the evaluation of the elders, Zhang Yang was obviously looking forward to it, but in the next second that expectation was shattered. Don't look like this, trust me, those guys will never say anything good about you. Kakashi saw Zhang Yang's expression indicating that he was going down, and said helplessly, exerting his usual black belly skills, first poured a basin of cold water on Zhang Yang. In the beginning, when you were brought in by me, those guys already had a lot of opinions. Fortunately, Tsunade-sama suppressed all their objections, and this happened again today. You left the village and incited the village leaders to come together to put pressure on Tsunade-sama. After listening to this, Zhang Yang's expression changed from disappointment just now to anger, all written on his face. This is only the side that is shown to those who believe. If there are other people around, Zhang Yang will not be surprised. Look. Where are those old undead? I'm going to find them and make it clear in person. Seeing that Zhang Yang was a little excited, Kakashi pressed Zhang Yang down with both hands, and then sat opposite Zhang Yang and said. You went now to find a suitable reason for them, and even if you leave the village, these elders will find people from Anbu to kill you. Zhang Yang's eyes widened after hearing this, and then he felt a little unbelievable, and asked tentatively. Kill me. Well, because you are a person who doesn't know your identity, they can feel at ease only if you get rid of you. If you go to other countries, they will think that you will hold a grudge and attack Muya village. After getting Kakashi's accurate reply, Jongyang immediately became furious. No one could stop him, and he muttered in his mouth. Wait for me, I haven't done anything to you yet, but I hit my head with my mind. Seeing that Jongyang was out of control, Kakashi did not stop him, but stepped aside and let him go. Jongyang was also a little puzzled, why Kakashi didn't stop him, but the anger in his heart still overwhelmed his doubts, so he strode forward, thinking in his heart, anyway, killing a few elders won't have much impact. Well, what about Naiko? When Jongyang was just walking to the door to prepare for the gate of opening, Kakashi said something in the back, and Jongyang stopped immediately. At the critical moment, Kakashi understood Jongyang's soft spot. If you leave, go and kill the elder, and you will take Naiko away when you get there, and Naiko will not be able to keep up with you on the way to escape, and based on my experience in Anbu, Naiko will probably be divided on the road. God was wiped out in an instant. Jongyang seemed to be a little shaken, his body trembled a little, and he seemed to think of the scene where Naiko would die, and then slowly turned his head to face Kakashi. Then why should I leave her here? There was some uncertainty in Jongyang's tone. More to say, it was to ask Kakashi to protect Naiko, but Kakashi looked at Jongyang and shook his head first and sighed. Hey, what should I say about you? If Naiko is here, it will be worse, let alone me. Even Tsunade-sama can't protect her. After all, it's too easy to attack such a weak woman in Konoha, and I also have when negligent, it can even be used as a bargaining chip to blackmail you. When Kakashi was about to finish speaking, the last word intensified his tone. Jongyang's body suddenly hesitated, and he didn't know what to do at the door. Chapter 325 The Appearance of Sasuke. You don't go either. If you go, you'll be jumping into their traps. Let's try to restrain the unknown threat brought by Orochimaru first. Kakashi looked at Jongyang, but in his heart he had already figured out a lot of escape routes for him. Hey! A piercing sound interrupted the conversation between the two, and Kakashi looked at the outside with a serious face. That's a signal flare, in the direction of the trial ground. Kie walked out slowly, walking as he walked. It seems that I still have to calm down, no matter which one, it is not a good ending. Jongyang didn't say anything, because something must have happened at this juncture, so he called gate of opening and went out in a hurry, while Kakashi turned his head to look at Jongyang, who had already left, and rubbed his hair helplessly. Kakashi let out a long sigh and said helplessly. Really, it's not cute at all. It seems that I have to wipe your ass. Kakashi waved his hand to stop, and then he had a few thoughts in his mind. Actually, if he left alone, he would be alone without Naiko, and those from Anbu wouldn't be able to do anything to him, even the 7 ninja swordsmen or Danzo. After Jongyang looked at Kakashi behind him, he went straight out. On the other side, where the flares were fired, in the trial ground, the 3 of the 7th class had already encountered a sudden attack by Orochimaru, and Shiro, who had just arrived here in addition to making an appointment with a few people to meet here, was fighting with Orochimaru. In addition, the 3 Naruto of Class 7 were all on the ground in a state of embarrassment. Orochimaru and Shiroto jumped away, they licked their tongues and said, Not bad. Your fighting skills and those uncommon ninjutsu are enough to prove that you are a gifted genius. It seems that you are indeed the darling of the Ice Blood GG. I also cherish talents. Do you want to come to me? By your side, here you can realize your... No. Shiro interrupted Orochimaru's invitation immediately and said, I'm sorry, I have found my dream, thank you so much for your kindness. Hee, that's really interesting. Orochimaru licked his mouth and smiled, then continued. It's your choice, no wonder although I never like to waste good things. As soon as he finished speaking, Orochimaru immediately put his finger on his mouth, and then the blood flowed out instantly, but this was what he did on purpose, and then I saw him take out the scroll, put his hand on it, and quickly seal the road. The art of psychic. Orochimaru is a little regretful. What he insists on is that what he can't get can't be expected by others. Just when he found Shiro, the best raw material for his own experiments, he wanted to take possession of Shiro's blood. And copy. Unexpectedly, Shiro rejected him, so Orochimaru had to use all means to deal with advanced ninjutsu such as the art of connecting the spirits, just to turn Shiro into his own experiment. Suddenly, a strong wind was blowing around, and the 7th class, Bai and the others only saw a huge snake head appear in the smoke in front of them, and the wind blew away the chakra fog, and everyone realized that Orochimaru was at this time right on the snake's head. It's exactly the same as last time. Naruto looked at this Orochi and remembered that Orochimaru pushed everyone to a corner last time in the trial ground. If Jongyang hadn't appeared to save everyone, I'm afraid he would have died under Sheku. The next time I can still meet it, the hearts of those who have experienced that battle have no bottom in their hearts. Be careful, White, this snake is very dangerous. Naruto woke up and reminded. And Shiro was just Vivi nodded and looked at Orochimaru and the gigantic snake-headed road ahead. Well, I see. Orochimaru smiled, stuck out his tongue, licked his mouth, and sneered. Anyone from the bloodline limit. I don't know what else you can bring me, hee hee hee. I said, the 3 of you hurry up and find a place to hide. Originally, I promised the teacher not to use that trick, but now it seems that it is time to release. Even though I use that trick, it won't hurt him much, because we are not on the same level as him at all, and looking at the whole Konoha, I am afraid that only Tsunade and Jiraiya-sama can check and balance with him. After Bai finished speaking, he thought about it. If you guessed correctly, they have already seen the signal flares I sent out a long time ago, and they are on their way now. I hope my move can be delayed until they come. Hearing that Bai wanted to let the 3 of them hide, he said trivially in his mouth. Don't underestimate me, I'm going to fight this guy too, I'm going to be a Hokage man. On the other hand, Sakura also said in a timely manner. And me, although my strength is very small now, I still have to fight with everyone. After all, we are a whole, aren't we? When we became a genin, Kakashi-sensei told us. Bai didn't know that there were people in the world who would rather fight with their companions than run away, so at this time he made a decision to protect their safety even if he died. Thinking of this, Bai said again. Okay, I hit the front, and you were responsible for supporting me. Writing wheel eyes. Suddenly in the grass on one side, a voice shouted loudly. Naruto and Sakura looked in that direction in disbelief, and their mouths trembled. Suk. Sakura was the first to react, while Naruto said angrily. Sasuke, where did you die? But Sasuke didn't answer, and saw that the 2 pupils instantly turned into blood red Ergo Jade, which stopped Orochimaru's attack at once, and Shiro reminded the 2 of them. Don't look elsewhere, the most important thing now is the enemy in front of you, don't be distracted. Naruto looked at Sasuke and looked at Sakura on the side. The 2 nodded, only to see Naruto raising his fingers and shouting loudly. Ghosting clone technique. Bai glanced at Naruto and Sasuke, and the 3 of them looked at each other at the same time, and immediately understood. Then, more than a dozen Naruto shadow clones rushed up, disturbing the line of sight. Orochimaru was Haisho again. Orochi under his body instantly bit Naruto's shadow avatar, and Sasuke on the side shouted loudly. It's now. Naruto didn't look at Sasuke, but said very tacitly. Got it. After a while, there was a rustling sound of compressed air, and everyone stared at Naruto in surprise. Naruto held a light blue chakra spiral pill in his hand and slammed the Orochi pill on the snake's head fiercely. Orochimaru was a little surprised, and secretly said in his heart. I didn't expect that child actually learned that technique. It seems that things are getting more and more interesting. Hee hee hee. In the face of Naruto and Haimaru who were calling, Orochimaru directly stretched out his long tongue and rapped Naruto who was attacking him with his tongue. Gap. Chapter 326 _ Ice Escape. Qian Bing. I saw that Bai's hands directly cast a white light after the seal, and in this place covered by the forest, the ray of sunlight that penetrated illuminated this reflective thing. This is, what a troublesome brat. Orochimaru was playing with Naruto, but when he felt a cold light pierce, Orochimaru had to let go of Naruto and shrink his tongue. Ninja. Multiple clone technique. Naruto, who fell to the ground, turned into chakra smoke, and this voice sounded from behind Orochimaru. Is this bait? Orochimaru saw Naruto kicking his back with a wound on his face, and instantly understood the strategy. Shiro watched with excitement as Naruto appeared and kicked Orochimaru down at the moment of preparation. Just as everyone was looking forward to it, a figure passed by, and its speed was so fast that at the moment of contacting Orochimaru, it directly took the Naruto. Naruto. Bai, who couldn't see Naruto, was a little surprised at this time, and at the same time shouted, he didn't know what happened to Naruto. Cut. What is this? Sasuke watched Naruto, who was going to kick Orochimaru down, disappeared at that moment, but because he had a wheel eye, only he could find out that Naruto did not disappear out of thin air, but was killed by the extremely fast figure was hugged away. He was taken away. He must still be around here. Look carefully, he should be around here. Sasuke didn't stop after he found out, but told the two people in front of him what he saw. Shiro was also incredulous. How could anyone use such a speed to rob Naruto under his own eyes? This is the first time. Once. What? Orochimaru turned around in surprise. Naruto behind him was behind him, and he really wanted to kick him, but he didn't expect to disappear out of thin air in that instant. No, this smell. It seems to be him. Orochimaru smelled the chakra residues in the air with some uncertainty. The reason for this was that when he was recalling just now, that is, the moment before Naruto disappeared, he seemed to I vaguely saw the figure of a person, so I was a little uncertain. Orochimaru, is this your conspiracy again? Sakura looked at Orochimaru angrily and said, insisting on standing up and looking at Wanshi and Orochimaru with disgust. Huh, me? No, I don't have the hobby of letting go of prey. Orochimaru said with a relaxed expression on Wanshin's head, as if he already knew who that person was, and no longer concealed it, so he turned his hands 10 ways. Secret technique. A-level mirror breaking technique. Solution. I saw Orochimaru's eyes staring, the snake pupils in the eyes shrank sharply, Orochimaru's body slowly melted, the hair and cortex on his face turned into a mess of mud, and then the mud directly turned into a mess. A strange snake head. What is that? Sakura said first, and then looked at the two of them with questioning eyes, hoping to see the answer in their eyes, but Sasuke and Shiro had just recovered from the eyes looking for Naruto around. Come on. When they heard Sakura's question, the two of them said they didn't know. Let me tell you. A figure slowly walked out of the woods on one side, raising his voice at the same time, attracting everyone's attention at once. You are. Bai looked at the figure walking out over there, and was a little familiar with that person's voice, but the dagger in his hand was still on his chest, and Bai would not let down his guard until he was sure who was coming. Naruto, I'll ask you to take care of it. Really, this is too messy. I saw a white-haired man walking out with a boy on his back. Bai gradually put down the weapon in his hand, and then looked at the child and said, Naruto. Sakura and Sasuke also responded. Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke's expression was particularly obvious, like a child who had done something wrong and dared not look directly at him. Sasuke, after these things are settled, come back with us. Kakashi put down Naruto on him, and Shiro and Sakura put Naruto aside. Sasuke didn't answer, as if by default. You take care of Naruto, I. Pung. Kakashi's position was hit by the sudden tail of the snake. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura shouted with pain and expression on her face when she saw that the place where Kaka was standing was hit by the huge snake tail. This is. Sasuke looked at the smoke rolling up in front of him in confusion. He didn't believe how Kakashi died like this, and his chakra reaction was still there. What the hell? What's going on? Shiro also felt the existence of Kakashi like Sasuke and wondered why his chakra didn't fluctuate at all. It seems that someone came out to make trouble, hehe. Feeling that the attack was blocked, Orochimaru asked in Wan Shi's mouth. Wan Shi spat out a letter in a deep voice. The person here has some strength, and the strength given to me by Toad Wentai is not too much. Looks like you've caught up, Kakashi, are you okay tilde? A frivolous male voice came out, and the smoke slowly dissipated. Ah tilde, it's okay. I didn't expect your Flying Thunder God technique to evolve to this level again. Kakashi in the smoke said to a teenage boy next to him. Flying Thunder God, is that the super space ninjutsu created by Minato-sama? Baiwei looked at the thin boy who caught the snake's tail with one hand, and what surprised him even more was that Kakashi actually agreed with him. The Flying Thunder God technique doesn't seem to be surprised at all. Who is this child? Bai looked at the scene in disbelief, then turned to ask the two next to him. Cut. It's this guy. When Sasuke saw that it was Zhang Yang, the expression on his face instantly dropped, and he seemed to dislike the appearance of Zhang Yang very much. He is Zhang Yang, the one who defeated Orochimaru and Danzo plus the ninja army of the Land of Water with one person in the trial ground. Sakura on the side heard Bai ask this, and also told about Zhang Yang's deeds. What? He is that Zhang Yang, who instantly repelled Danzang, and cut off the tail of 1,000 snakes. Bai seemed to have heard about Zhang Yang long ago, but what surprised him was that this person had both gods and Buddhas. The person who killed the power was actually a child who looked a little younger than himself. Water Escape Water Dragon Ball Technique. Kakashi seals the seal, and a huge water dragon instantly appears in the forest. Kakashi looks at the Orochimaru in the mouth of the snake, and then jumps directly on the water dragon's head, looking at Orochimaru's eyes. Chapter 327 Orochimaru's Conspiracy. Luring Naruto to give you a kick, and then use your strange mirror technique to devour Naruto. If it wasn't for Zhang Yang's use of the Flying Thunder God to rob Naruto, you might have succeeded. There was a hint of rudeness in Cassie's tone, and even naked murderous intent rushed towards Orochimaru. What? Is it a trap? How could I not have noticed? Bai looked at Naruto lying beside him with some remorse. Don't be like this. Isn't it a good result that Naruto is still alive now, and we can't see the strength of Orochimaru at all, so don't blame yourself. Lightly patted Bai's back, then comforted. So what? I will get the power of that kid sooner or later, give me death. After Orochimaru finished speaking, he lowered his tail again, and the person who caught the tail moved his feet to the ground. The ground sank. Wan Shi looked strangely at the place where the tail was pressing, and let out a doubt. What? Is there a problem? Orochimaru rarely heard Wan Shi's doubts, and he hurriedly asked when he felt that something was wrong. This feeling is. Manza didn't answer Orochimaru, but turned her head to the place where her tail was. Bankai. The blade is like fire. A powerful voice came out in an instant with a huge flame. This scene scared everyone, except for Kakashi. Even Shiro's eyes were full of many surprised and curious. Hurry up, cut off my tail. Wan Snake swayed in pain, because at this time there was already a raging fire on his tail, and the flame of gas was almost higher than that of Wan Snake. Secret technique. Grass Pheasant Flash. At this moment, something gleaming with cold light spewed out from Orochimaru's mouth and shot towards Manza's tail. Crack. A burst of white sword light followed a sound, and Wan Snake's appearance finally got better, and the tail fell in response to the sound. The gas fire instantly engulfed the broken tail of Wan Snake. Why I only cut off your tail without killing you? Why don't you have a long memory? Zhang Yang, who was at the bottom, was holding Bankai's ancient sword like a fire, and he seemed to be very relaxed. It's you kid again. Wan Shi's voice changed a bit, seeing Zhang Yang as frightened as seeing a ghost. Of course, there was no relaxed expression on Orochimaru's face. It seems that the outcome has been decided. Great. Sakura looked at Zhang Yang's back with some joy when she saw the appearance of Wan Shi and Orochimaru. Cut. This guy will be defeated by me sooner or later. Sasuke gritted his teeth and looked at Zhang Yang's back, his fists clenched very tightly. Looks like this kid still has a lot of trump cards. If Orochimaru is alone, I always feel that Orochimaru is no match for this kid. The knife that was burning with gas, I felt a little relieved in my heart. Who tilde, a strange voice came along with the sound of the wind rubbing against the leaves. Yo, it's actually a writing wheel. It's really unique, but, apart from that kid, I feel like Konoha is a bunch of trash. And also, why is the one-eyed person on the water dragon? He's Hitaki Kakashi, a voice said. It's actually him. It looks like it's been a tough fight again, and I want to go back and eat more. Stop talking nonsense. The most important thing is to follow Orochimaru-sama's orders. Secret magic mirror. Several voices came from all directions. Kakashi was shocked when he heard the words, and then Kakashi was surprised to find that the control of himself and water dragon % disappeared all of a sudden. Immediately afterwards, Shui %long %'s body exploded and collapsed instantly, and Kakashi's surroundings were followed by small ice souls that slowly condensed. Everyone looked around and found that there was a man in white overalls on each branch in the specified position in the 4 places around. Strange. How can their feet float? Sakura shouted while Kakashi, who fell from the water dragon on the ground and just stood firm, also looked in that direction. No, they're not floating. Ice block at their feet. After listening to this sentence, everyone was amazed, and Zhang Yang said jokingly, I didn't expect that the water scattered in the air after the explosion of Kakashi's water dragon % could form such a cage ice wall. It seems that there is no need to buy a refrigerator in the future. Kakashi gave an angry look, then stood up and looked at Orochimaru. Is this your conspiracy too? He, I didn't say I wasn't a bait to lure you in. After Orochimaru said this, he turned his head to Zhang Yang and continued. I said, 3 days are 3 days tilde. Looking at Orochimaru's green eyes, Zhang Yang was a little helpless, but more of Zhang Yang's offer Orochimaru's scheming, but he didn't expect this to be calculated in advance by him. The surrounding area of Kakashi has become an ice wall, and the ice wall is actually much thicker than the body of the 2 people. The place where everyone can move is very small, and it is only a dozen steps. Orochimaru outside this double-sided mezzanine, they were looking at them expectantly. No matter who it is, don't want to disturb Mr. Orochimaru's experiment, because this is the gospel of this world. Mr. Orochimaru is a god with resurrection power. A thin man said behind Kakashi, talking. It's time to reveal his prosthesis. Among these people, the person in the east looks very strong. Looking at this figure, Zhang Yang thinks of the transformed Pumir, while the person in the west, the one who just spoke, looks the thinnest. And then the guy in the south looks a little fat. However, compared with Wan Snake on the side, his fatness is a little insignificant, and the rest is the man from the north. Among the crowd, he is a head taller than everyone, but his face is a bit unkind. A ruthless party of sound, Kakashi said in surprise when he looked at the people in front of him. Is this the resurrected remnant? As expected of Kakashi, you're right. For the sake of your dying, I told you to take it to rest. Orochimaru licked his tongue and looked at the few people pretending to be him with interest, and then paused. Actually, at the beginning, I had already killed a lot of ninjas, and they also helped me complete the basics of resurrecting the human body, but unfortunately. Chapter 328 The beginning of the reincarnation of the dirty earth. Most of these trials were out of luck. They all died suddenly due to some reasons on the way, so this is what I need in your body, and then I will have your mysterious psychic beast, Naruto's 9 tails, Sasuke's body, then mine. Great science has already succeeded, ha ha ha. Quote. What the hell do you want to do after getting this? Zhang Yang on the side followed Orochimaru's words and asked. In fact, he knew a lot about it himself, so he didn't need to ask, but in order to set out his words and understand how long he was going to launch the reincarnation of the dirty earth, he would just count it. Hee, should you be smart or stupid? These people are no longer alive, it's me. I resurrected them. Hearing this, except for Zhang Yang, everyone looked surprised. They didn't expect Orochimaru to have such an ability to summon the dead. Hee, doesn't it seem surprising enough for you? Orochimaru enjoyed the panic and fear of the crowd, but after seeing the publicity, Orochimaru was a little puzzled but still smiled. After I get your bodies, I will resurrect all the dead powerhouses, and then control the ninja world. The few people who had not recovered from the shock just heard the heavy news of Orochimaru again, and Kakashi looked at Orochimaru with a trace of indifference and anticipation, and Shiro seemed to remember it too. If you can see your dead relatives, then. But a voice interrupted this idea. Did the resurrected powerhouse start a war? Zhang Yang sneered while holding Lu Ren Ruahuo. I finally know what you're going to do. If it wasn't for you to say this, I'm afraid I wouldn't stand looking at your glass building like this. The strong man from the east said coldly. Then try this, you can't defend against attacks from all directions around you. Bing done. Exploding pear ice needles. I saw that the man didn't say much, and directly shouted at Zhang Yang inside. In the air at this time, the slender ice thorns slowly formed by the ice surface slowly grew up from all directions, and then the man waved, and those ice thorns shot directly towards Zhang Yang in the middle. Seeing that all around him were like this, Zhang Yang hurriedly picked up the flowing blade and swung the knife, and a layer of flames covered everyone's heads. At this moment, a huge ice thorn arrived in front of Zhang Yang at some point. Zhang Yang saw so many ice thorns around, and he had to keep waving his knife to protect everyone's safety. There was no way to avoid this attack, but after the next second, Zhang Yang had a plan and gritted his teeth. It seemed that something was accumulating in his throat. After Kakashi saw Zhang Yang's appearance, although he was a little surprised, he still pulled everyone up. Everyone, hurry up and hide behind Zhang Yang. Fire Dungeon's fireball technique. Just after Kakashi brought everyone to the back, a huge flame burst out from Zhang Yang's mouth. The huge ice thorn in front of him could no longer going in front of this flame, only to see the ice thorn shrink and melt a little bit. The flames that spewed out were extremely hot. Although some ice thorns were burned, more ice thorns followed, filling the gap in an instant. I'll go. I saw that an ice thorn suddenly penetrated Zhang Yang's body when there was a loophole. Even if his own body was blessed by Fu Lang, he couldn't stand such a blow in a short period of time. Cough cough. This is too cruel. Those flames disappeared all of a sudden, and Zhang Yang was half kneeling on the ground all of a sudden. A mouthful of bright red liquid spewed out of his mouth, and then he gasped, but just fighting, Zhang Yang was so embarrassed. Seeing that Zhang Yang was so hurt, he realized that these enemies were not as easy to deal with as he thought. Kakashi bit his lip and said, Zhang Yang, are you alright? Then he looked at the ninja in the east, and slowly pulled up his ninja forehead, revealing the blood-red writing wheel. I didn't expect. You actually have this ability. Why is this ice block able to restrain my body? Zhang Yang was a little puzzled, panting on the ground. His face was a little painful, but it could be seen that Zhang Yang was really restrained power. Oh, then let me do a good deed and let you die after hearing about my identity. Anyway, you are not the only one who has doubts, and I am too lazy to explain them one by one. Then the man from the south said with an expressionless face. As you can see, several of us can only perform ninjutsu in a certain range, and 4 of us must use ninjutsu together, and the interval is as much as 2 or 3 times a day. Of course, if one is in the battle after playing for a long time, our chakra can only support us to use it once. Quote. And only in this small space, the 4 of us can use this ninjutsu under this specific condition. Zhang Yang and Kakashi glanced at each other, and the man said that he was addicted, and continued after a pause. Actually, the few of us were ordinary people from the beginning, but after meeting Mr. Orochimaru, we made a deal with him before we exchanged this legacy body. In his voice, it was as if he was very relaxed and earned. Expression and appearance. Well, if it weren't for the Orochimaru-sama, I'm afraid we would have died on the way to escape, and his orders are our beliefs, and our body is the descendant of the seal family millions of years ago. Even if you are the legendary seal monster, if you hit this one, all the power in your body will be suppressed. Now you already know what you need to know, so just die for me. I saw the people from the west said and then shouted. Ice shield ice blade slash. Sakura and Bai on one side were helping Naruto to retreat, and the sudden impact on Zhang Yang's side shattered some of the surrounding ice. At this time, Sakura and the others saw Kakashi running over. He looked a little embarrassed, and there was a strange look in his eyes. At this time, the few people who were about to escape didn't have time to carefully observe his expression. Bai said a word after seeing Kakashi coming. Take Naruto and run away. Only then did Kakashi notice Shiro's gaze, and Sakura asked suspiciously, Shiro, what's wrong with you? I'm fine, don't worry about me. Although he said that, Bai's actions were like being manipulated, and he said stubbornly. Chapter 329 Sasuke of Illusion. Are you really okay? Kakashi asked in surprise. At this time, Sasuke didn't know why he came from Zhang Yang's direction, and Kakashi asked with a puzzled look. Sasuke, why are you in that direction? Sasuke's eyes were strange and complicated. Zhang Yang ran away, we've been tricked. What? Xiao Ying and Bai were shocked. Although Zhang Yang had become like that, they had already thought about how Zhang Yang might die, but they didn't expect that Zhang Yang would escape. As soon as Sasuke came, he said that Zhang Yang had escaped alone. This puzzled everyone. This is impossible, Kakashi yelled in disbelief. From what I know about him, he's not that kind of person. And Bai said in disbelief. It's impossible, although it's a bit blind to believe him. According to his strength and character, I always feel that things are not that simple. And Kakashi nodded suddenly, and then said to Sasuke. Sasuke, you said Zhang Yang escaped, so did you see Zhang Yang escape with your own eyes? Sasuke didn't answer, but his dull eyes stared blankly in that direction, as if he had lost his mind. Sakura felt that something was wrong, because Sasuke is usually a maverick. How could it be like this time? Plus he is a medical ninja, it is easy to see if there is something wrong with Sasuke. Medical ninja. Solution. With the help of Kakashi, Sakura directly held down Sasuke and purified Sasuke all over his body. Sasuke's expression became extremely painful after Sakura just opened up those disordered chakras on Sasuke's body, and then slowly fell down while covering his eyes. Sasuke. Because Sakura was the closest to Sasuke, Sakura directly grabbed Sasuke's hand and took Sasuke into her arms. In fact, for Sakura, a few more weights of Sasuke could easily pull over. If Sasuke doesn't resist, Sakura's strange power can directly throw him out. Damn, you guys pull Sasuke together first, I'll stay and see where Zhang Yang has gone. Seeing that Sasuke couldn't escape this kind of mental delusion even with his shackles, Kakashi had some doubts about Orochimaru's abilities. I can't see through. Kakashi-sensei. But. Don't say it, this is an order, leave quickly. Kakashi ordered a few people to leave in an unquestionable tone, then glanced at Bai, who was tangled next to him, and said, Bai, you take them with me, I'll be there in a while. To come for your turn. Shiro glanced at Kakashi, then looked at Sakura, who was holding Sasuke and didn't know what to do. After thinking for a while, he nodded to Kakashi, pulled Sakura and ran towards the gap. Sakura was a little confused, but she still held Sasuke tightly in her hand. It took a long time for her to react. With her own power, she broke free from Shiro's hand, and then stopped to look at Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura slumped helplessly on the ground, looking at Kakashi's direction desperately, but the location of Kakashi's station in that direction was continuously covered by a large piece of ice needles. Now it seems that only needle-shaped ice sculptures like art are left. Bai didn't say anything, and came over slowly, then squatted down and touched Xiao Ying's head, and Xiao Ying, who was crying, saw Bai coming, her emotions flooded into her heart for a while, hugged Bai and cried. Shiro behind the mask didn't know what kind of expression he had, but he just stroked Sakura's head in his arms over and over again, like a gentle elder sister. Cough, cough. Sakura was frightened by the sudden cough. She was very familiar with this voice. No matter how small or strange, as long as it was Sasuke's voice, Sakura would definitely be able to distinguish it. So he quickly turned his head to look, and found that Sasuke had opened his eyes at this time, and there was a pool of fresh blood on the corner of his mouth. Sakura couldn't help but turn pale in shock, and hurriedly pushed Bai away and rushed over. Sasuke. Zhang Sasuke seemed to be about to say something, but because the voice was too weak, Sakura couldn't hear it clearly, but now Sakura didn't care about this, but immediately went to investigate Sasuke's vital signs, and found that the signs on his body were although it is very weak now, but fortunately it is slowly recovering. Sasuke, don't talk, I'll save you right away. Xiaoying looked very anxious, because he was afraid that Sasuke would make another mistake, and Bai could only be anxious. In terms of medical treatment, Sakura is still not as good as Sakura, so it can't help much at all. No, listen to me. Finished. Sasuke seemed to have something to say. While stubbornly pushing away Sakura's hand, he slowly propped himself up with his hands and sat up. Sasuke, but if your injury is not suppressed now, I'm afraid there will be sequelae in the future. Although Sakura said this, she couldn't stand Sasuke's persistence, so she could only help Sasuke up and let Sasuke sit and talk. Because she herself still has some clarity about Sasuke, he will not give up if things fail to achieve his goals, including his current stubborn character. Sasuke, what do you want to say? Why are you in such a hurry? Bai, who is on the side, broke the silence rarely, because this could quickly cut into the subject and let Sasuke get out of danger as soon as possible after his demands were resolved. Sasuke looked very hard, the sweat on his face and forehead was like beans, and Sakura was very worried to wipe Sasuke. Let's not say, where is this? Sasuke's face recovered a lot after sitting up. It may also be because he was lying on the ground just now because he was afraid of not being able to say anything and his nervousness affected the spread of the injury, although it is still a little bit. It was difficult, but the blood turned a little bit. We've already escaped, and we're not far from the gap now. Baizi answered Xiao Sakura, because if you asked Sakura to answer, I'm afraid it would bring up a bunch of irrelevant topics, and Sasuke would definitely hate it. That's it, so answer first. Sasuke nodded, and then slowly turned his head to look around, as if he was observing something. When he swept to Shiro, Sasuke looked beside Shiro, the pupils in his eyes suddenly became cold, and they shrank rapidly. Grabbing Sakura's shoulder, she asked anxiously. What about Kakashi-sensei and the others? Sasuke's eyes became a little crazy when he said this, and the flesh of Sakura's arm was sunk in pain from being caught, and Sakura actually held it back. Unexpectedly, Sasuke's strength was getting stronger and stronger, so she couldn't stand it anymore, so she shouted directly. Chapter 330 The Danger of Returning to Seek. Sasuke, don't get excited, let me go first. Sakura didn't yell at Sasuke even if it was painful, but added a touch of tenderness to the painful language, just like a mother told her child can't do the same. Sasuke, hurry up and let go of Sakura. Baizi saw that Sasuke was going mad. He suddenly had two big heads. Kakashi obviously had a lot of things going on, and now Sasuke is going mad. Not so good. Hearing Shiro's reminder again, Sasuke realized that the Sakura in front of him was already in tears, and the nails on his hands had already pierced Sakura's arm to bleed, and then he slowly let go. Looking at the bloodstains on Xiaoying's arms, she realized that she was too impulsive. Sakura, are you okay? Bai is concerned about Sakura's injury first. Although such an injury is not fatal, it is more painful to be hurt a little by someone who can't resist. Sasuke turned his head to the side, although it seemed that he didn't want to apologize, but Sakura knew that this was Sasuke's reaction after he did something wrong. He would not use words to apologize to anyone, instead he would only use actions to make others understand his apology. No, here it is, tie it up first, to avoid infection later. Sure enough, after the sound of clothes being torn, Sasuke gave Sakura a piece of clothes that was torn from his body, and Sakura was also a little moved. Although Sasuke hurt himself just now, it was also an unintentional act. Now I apologize. Also looks very cute. Kakashi-sensei, where did they go? Sasuke didn't look back, probably because he was afraid of seeing the wound on Sakura's body. He just asked on the spot, while Bai Xian went over to check on Sakura's wound, and wrapped the cloth around Sakura. He answered slowly. Senior Kakashi went to look for Zhang Yang, and Bai then realized something, and then he knew why Sasuke was so anxious, not only that Kakashi was gone, but also where Naruto went. Is that so? Sasuke seemed to have guessed that Naruto was forgotten, and Sakura on the side was playing with the piece of cloth that Sasuke had torn off. After hearing the news, the movements in his hands also stopped, as if they were stiff. Like in the air, there is no response for a long time. Forget it, I'll go find him. Sasuke didn't even think about it. After saying this, he got up straight away, but since his injury was not yet healed, his whole body was in unbearable pain as long as he moved a little bit. And Sakura woke up immediately after seeing it, ran over to support Sasuke, and at the moment of landing, Sakura caught him. Sasuke, what are you doing? We are all worried about Naruto's life and death now, but if you search like this, it will only increase the burden and difficulty of searching. Seeing Sasuke like this, the injured Sakura went to catch him regardless of the pain. The tone is not as easy to discuss as before, it is just a lecture. It's so noisy. I will find him myself. After saying this, Sasuke looked at the ground at a loss, with a sad look in his eyes. Seeing him like this, Sakura slowly helped Sasuke up, and then put Sasuke under a big tree next to him, and asked Sasuke to lean against the tree. Seeing that Sasuke was still bowing his head in disappointment, Sakura slowly put his hand down on Sasuke's face. He touched his face. Sasuke, I understand your feelings, but you are like this now. Even if Naruto is okay, he will die for you. Do you understand what I mean? Sakura's tone was very calm, probably only talking to Sasuke. That's right, Bai sighed and sighed beside him, thinking in his heart, this is the so-called one who is willing to fight and the other who is willing to suffer. Sakura, you take care of Sasuke here, don't let him run around. You guys are good at hiding, I'll go to Naruto and the others. Seeing that the two were just right, I didn't want to disturb them here, and then I explained that I jumped and took off. Instantly disappeared from the tree. But Sakura couldn't help swallowing half of the words in Shiroi who was leaving, and then she could only look at Sasuke who had her back turned to her and sighed. A white shadow kept running through the woods, causing the surrounding leaves to squeak along with the shadow. Behind the shadow, a strong wind followed the shadow. Wherever the fast shadow went, the strong wind was merciless. Raging the surrounding trees, some unsupported leaves will break away from the trunk and follow the strong wind for a while, and then slowly fall. Ice escape. Chiffon ice. After arriving at the place, the leaves fell together, and the person who made a lot of leaves in front of him wore a mask and faced the road ahead. In an instant, in a crack in the large cage made by the ice block in front, Orochimaru was holding Kakashi's hand and was instantly frozen. Kakashi kicked the Orochimaru away and turned back directly. The frozen one. His hand was also pulled off. Kakashi stepped aside and touched his neck, as if he was very uncomfortable. He looked towards the masked man, his eyes widened and he said, "Bye. Why are you here?" I saw Shiro calmly descended the slope, then watched Orochimaru and walked to Kakashi's side and said, "If I didn't come, you might have been killed by Orochimaru." If Bai was neither cold nor indifferent, Kakashi couldn't refute it, because he used too much chakra just now on the four of them, but they were a little collapsed, and coupled with the characteristics of this ice, the people inside couldn't see the outside, so will be caught off guard by Orochimaru's sneak attack. By the way, haven't you seen that child yet? Shiro saw Kakashi fighting alone with Orochimaru here, with some doubts in his indifferent tone, then looked back and saw that he had broken a hand, but it continued to spread ice. Orochimaru, who was staring at Shiro viciously at this time. Ninja, the art of the pheasant sword in the mouth. With a sudden cry, Kakashi and the two turned their heads to see what happened over there, but they didn't have time to see Orochimaru's appearance clearly, and the eyes of the two of them were completely black. "This is it," Bai said in an unsteady tone. He felt that he could move, and the sky was not dark, and there was nothing around him that blocked his vision. He couldn't help muttering to himself, "This feels like being blind." The same. Quote. After saying this, Bai suddenly remembered that there was another Kakashi next to him. He didn't know if he was in trouble, so he reached out to touch and found that there was still someone next to him, but he seemed to be unwilling. He couldn't say it himself. Chapter 331 The Appearance of Zhang Yang. This is Orochimaru's underhand trick. He let me go once before. As long as he is next to this piece of ice, he can pass this poisonous gas that temporarily blinds us to us. After speaking, Kakashi seemed to take a deep breath, and then said, "I was attacked by Orochimaru just now, and after he grabbed my neck, I found that I could see again. So, the way to decipher this poison is to hold your breath, right?" Kakashi could hear that Bai's sentence was an affirmative sentence, and he himself guessed it right, and it was indeed the case. That's true, but the good times didn't last long. Just when Kakashi and Bai took a deep breath, a voice sneered, "Hee, I know what happened, it's too late." According to Kakashi's many years of experience, Orochimaru walks on his stomach, and since it is near the ice surface, there is no sound at all. The only thing that can tell Orochimaru is going is the knife that he saw when he lost his sight. "Shiro, pay attention, he's less than 50 meters away from us." Kakashi listened carefully with his ears sideways. The reaction on his face was a little nervous. The tiny voice of the knife cutting through the air had betrayed Orochimaru's position. The sound of breaking the air sounded instantly, just at the moment Kakashi reacted and pulled Shirao. Each of the kunai turned into a flowing blade and flew to the front of the two in an instant, but the two were poisoned and did not see these kunai. At this time, a boy's face did not have the slightest wave watching these attacks. Ping, ping, ping. After a while of afterimage, all the kunai were precisely chopped aside by Zhang Yang with a knife. Boom, boom, boom. Kunai was either stuck on a tree pole or on the ground, scattered around Zhang Yang. Just as Zhang Yang was about to step forward, he suddenly noticed something unusual, a faint reflection of light flashing in the air. These kunai scattered around. Looking up, it turned out that the four people in the ice were connected by a steel wire. Zhang Yang has been surrounded by dense steel wires unknowingly. Did you find it? But it's too late, Orochimaru said with a smile, and the four beside him waved their hands. Z. With the sound of the steel wire rubbing, the intricate steel mesh began to cut towards Zhang Yang. Double crash. However, this was not over yet. With a loud cry, a large shadow enveloped the night, followed by a violent gust of wind, and I saw a person jump down and roll towards Zhang Yang. And the strength and speed of his doubling technique are almost unmatched, and now he has turned into a huge meatball with a diameter of 4 meters, rapidly spinning in place, bringing bursts of hurricanes, raising pieces of dust. Zhang Yang, don't blame us, you don't have the slightest room to escape now, whether it's my tightrope or his attack, you can't escape. Now beg for mercy, I can let them go. Orochimaru stood there and said to Zhang Yang, then pointed to Kakashi and Shiro who were fleeing on the other side. In the current situation, Zhang Yang was completely locked by the attack of the two. All around were steel wires, and there was no gap to escape at all. Listening to Orochimaru's words, the corners of his mouth were raised slightly, and a smile appeared. This smile fully showed Yi's mood at the moment. It was a very relaxed smile, which made people feel at ease. Whether it is the concealment of Orochimaru's attack and the precise control of human nature, or the power and release speed of the Joinen's doubling technique, this is not something ordinary Joinen can do at all. Zhang Yang, let's help you. Shiro relieved some of the poison and barely opened one eye to look at the emergency situation at this time, but his body couldn't sit still. Reach out to stop it. Don't worry, Zhang Yang hasn't paid attention to this attack. Kakashi rubbed his eyes and said lightly. With a light drink from the Jonin over there, the rolling body was like a huge cannonball, and it shot out with a boom. At the same time, the wire mesh that was very close to Zhang Yang shrank rapidly. Everyone around held their breath. In their opinion, Yi had no way to get out of this predicament. Bankai. Second style. I saw that Joinan's human flesh bomb was about to blast towards Zhang Yang, and a soft drink came from the center of the wire mesh to everyone's ears. A fierce hurricane erupted from the center of the steel mesh in an instant, and the surrounding time was flying sand and stone, and Orochimaru and Kakashi Bai and others involuntarily blocked their eyes. Clap, clap, clap. Under the swing of Zhang Yang's blade-like fire, all the steel wires were twisted and deformed, and finally they were overwhelmed and broke one by one. Before Shangren had time to be surprised, a muffled sound that shocked the mountains and forests erupted from the front, and Zhang Yang kicked the center of the body with a roundabout kick. Boom. The air seemed to be shocked by the sound and rippled, and the huge muffled sound startled a large group of birds in the forest. For a time, the meat bullet was like a huge football, chopped in half by Zhang Yang, and then burned by Zhang Yang's flames without a trace. In the woods on the other side, Sasuke and Sakura looked at the startled bird and felt a little surprised. Sakura looked up at the top of the dense forest over there. There was a thick black smoke in the middle of a group of fleeing mountain birds, and she was curious. What is that smoke? Sasuke looked at the black smoke in the sky. Although he didn't know what it was, he could feel that it was the smell of the knife that was publicized. Huh. Not long after Zhang Yang burned down the Jonin, Konoha changed dramatically. Anbu wearing a cat face mask suddenly appeared in a dark alley. Is this a ninja of the Uchiha clan? It shouldn't be here where the battle is fought, and what happened to this dead Uchiha clan? Anbu carefully checked the scene after the battle, and then checked the corpses of the Uchiha clan, and muttered to himself. After inspecting Uchiha Hiroshi's body, the two Anbu members were full of doubts, but thinking of the current situation, he had to put these doubts in his heart first. After all, it was not the time to distract him to investigate the cause of Uchiha's death. It's time to know that the battle between Uchiha and Konoha is raging. Let's leave it to others here. My mission is to support the battlefield as soon as possible. The simple Anbu let go of the matter here. After all, his mission was to support the battlefield, not to deal with this trivial matter here. The reason why he came here was only because he was attracted by the sound of battle inside when he passed by. Chapter 332 Uchiha reappears. Thinking of his mission, the member of Anbu immediately used the Shunshu technique to rush towards the back mountain. As for the body of Uchiha, he ignored it. And how would the few people who were fighting know that after a while, the village had begun to fight with the Uchiha family, and at this time their battlefield had been extended beyond Konoha. As for the other big battlefield, that is, the back mountain of Konoha, at this moment, the rest of Konoha's major families and most of Uchiha's fighters have all gathered together, and the battle for Konoha's rights has begun. Fire escape. The art of fireball. Water escape. Water dragon ball technique. I saw all kinds of ninjutsu flying around in the back mountain, mess everywhere, and the earth was broken, it looked like it had been bombed by missiles. In addition to the broken scene, the bloody corpses that can be seen everywhere also render a scene of gunpowder smoke. Only the flickering figures on the ground and among the trees clearly indicate that this is not caused by missiles, but the place where the ninjas fought. The sight left. If Yi sees this scene now, I am afraid that he will have more understanding of the ninja battle, right? Patriarch Uchiha, stop. Enough people have died, are you going to put the village in a corner? In an open space, the 5 generations of Hokage and the Uchiha clan stood face to face. They were full of remnants after the battle, and their breathing was very heavy. It was obvious that they had experienced a war, and at this time Tsunade was persuading the Uchiha clan to stop. HMPH, Tsunade, you are so naive. We Uchiha have been preparing for today for many years, how could we be able to stop with a single word from you? What's more, this opportunity is rare. As far as we know, many of you who stayed in the village have already been dispatched, and those guys who are in trouble are not there. Now, we Uchiha have the upper hand. After today, we will be Uchiha. Polai is in charge of Konoha. Hearing Dao Tsunade's persuasion, the Uchiha patriarch snorted coldly. You must know how many years Uchiha prepared for today, and how could he give up, not to mention that they have the upper hand now. No matter how you think Uchiha patriarch is impossible, abandon this plan. Hey, don't you still understand? We already knew your Uchiha's purpose, and we made preparations very early. You will only push Uchiha into the abyss. Stop it. Seeing the disdain of the Uchiha clan leader, although Tsunade felt annoyed in his heart, in order to reduce the loss of the village, he still persuaded the Uchiha clan leader with a heartbroken expression. HMPH, even if you already know what our purpose is, aren't you still being suppressed by us? In the face of absolute strength, no matter how much you prepare, it is useless. Today is destined to rewrite the history of our Uchiha and Konoha. One day. However, after listening to Tsunade's words, the Uchiha patriarch did not have the slightest intention to give up. Although it is true that Tsunade has caused a lot of casualties to Uchiha's manpower due to the long-term preparations, it is obviously impossible for the Uchiha patriarch to give up today's plan. In his opinion, the resistance of Tsunade and others is only the last struggle. After all, the disparity in strength between the two sides is too great. Patriarch Uchiha, you are too confident. Do you think that since we already knew about your plan, we would be unprepared? Do you think we really have no other cards? Seeing that Patriarch Uchiha was still unwilling to give up, Tsunade had to continue to persuade. It's not that Tsunade wants to let Uchiha go, but he is worried that the battle between Uchiha and Konoha will cause too much damage to the village, which will only give other villages a chance to take advantage of, and Konoha may be even more dangerous at that time. Therefore, for the sake of the village, the three generations had to persuade the Uchiha patriarch painstakingly. It has to be said that the three generations can endure what ordinary people cannot bear for the village, and they are also sincerely for the village. Otherwise, why would he have to persuade Uchiha to directly eliminate all these traitors? It is the best choice. If it was someone else who would definitely kill Uchiha, even Jongyang would definitely do it, but Tsunade will not. Whether it is in the future or now, Tsunade can be said to be a person who dedicates his life to the village. He can give everything for the village, let alone the Uchiha family. After all, in Tsunade's eyes, Uchiha is also a member of the village. Although he usually suppresses Uchiha, he will never kill him. This is Tsunade, a 5th-generation Hokage who can endure what ordinary people can't bear for the village. Haha, Tsunade, I didn't expect you to use such a lie to scare me. You thought we didn't know that you sent Jongyang and Kakashi to deal with me, and it was a plan arranged with Orochimaru from the beginning. Even if they get the news that they have to rush back from the battlefield, it's too late, right? And there is not much power left in the village, otherwise do you think we will choose this time to rebel? Seeing Tsunade's serious look, the Uchiha patriarch suddenly burst out laughing, and then looked at Tsunade with mocking eyes, and then slowly said the information Uchiha had obtained, as well as the choice of this the reason for the time rebellion. Do you have to drive the Uchiha clan to a dead end? Tsunade was really angry this time, and even she was trembling with anger because of the words of the Uchiha clan leader, only to see her shouting to the Uchiha clan leader with an angry face. Dead end. Yes, it is indeed a dead end, but it is not our Uchiha's dead end, but the dead end of your Senju family and the rebels in this village, and our Uchiha will only become stronger. Hearing Tsunade's words, Chief Uchiha sneered, looked at Tsunade with a mocking look, and said loudly in an arrogant tone. Since you are stubborn, don't blame us, but don't worry, we will not drive out Uchiha. We will leave some Uchiha descendants to cultivate well, they will be a new generation of Uchiha in the future. Seeing that no matter what he said, Clan Uchiha didn't listen, Tsunade was completely disappointed this time. I saw that his expression changed in an instant, and he no longer had the feeling of persuasion before. Frost. Looking at Tsunade's frosty face, Uchiha's patriarch didn't seem to be at all afraid. In his heart, he thought that this was just Tsunade's expression of anger after persuading him to fail. He didn't know that Tsunade had already made up his mind to completely change the future fate of the Uchiha clan, all because of the Uchiha clan leader's refusal to listen to persuasion. As for what Tsunade said at the end, the Uchiha patriarch didn't care. In his opinion, Uchiha now has the upper hand, and Uchiha will not let Tsunade and the others go. Chapter 333 The Strength of the Uchiha Patriarch. What Tsunade said would not kill Uchiha was just alarmist in the eyes of the Uchiha Patriarch, or simply said that his brain was broken, and he didn't care at all. Stop talking nonsense, let's use our strength to decide the outcome of this battle. Fire Escape. The technique of the arrogant fire dragon. During the period of time when San Tsunade and Uchiha Patriarch were talking, the battle had entered a white-hot stage. Seeing that his own people had also lost a lot, Uchiha Patriarch did not want to say anything more to Tsunade, and told Suna again. The hand attacked. Water Escape. Water Formation Wall. Tsunade has been persuading the Uchiha clan leader. She did not expect Uchiha to attack suddenly, but after a figure next to him ran over and shouted, the moment when the Uchiha clan leader formed the seal, that person also formed the seal at the same time. That person it seemed that he could see the seal made by the Uchiha clan leader at a glance, and then decisively used the water wall for defense. Jiraiya. Tsunade was taken aback by this change. She didn't know that Jiraiya was secretly observing and protecting herself. You must know that Jiraiya's title is Toad Immortal. It can be said that he is proficient in all kinds of ninjutsu, and his combat experience is very strong. As long as the enemy makes a move, he can see what ninjutsu the opponent is going to use, and then respond immediately. Boom! The raging flames were overwhelming, and just when the flames were about to burn to the two of them, a water curtain suddenly appeared beside Tsunade, completely covering him and blocking the flames. Chi-chi. The flame in the water curtain made a chirp sound after contact, and then a large amount of water mist rose from the place where the two came into contact, as if someone had cast the fog concealment technique from a distance. As expected of the Toad Immortal Jiraiya, it seems that it is impossible not to show his true strength. Let me see whether the legendary immortal is stronger or the kaleidoscope of our Uchiha clan is stronger. Kaleidoscope, open. Seeing that Jiraiya also easily defended his attack, the Uchiha clan leader could not help frowning secretly. He knew that the longer the time dragged on, the worse it would be for Uchiha, so in order to end the battle as soon as possible, the Uchiha clan leader decided to use his trump card. Is it finally coming? Uchiha's Kaleidoscope Shaker. Hearing the words of the Uchiha Patriarch, his heart sank subconsciously. As the fifth generation of Hokage Tsunade in the village, he naturally knew that the kaleidoscope was terrifying. Even the immortals could not calm down when faced with the legendary Uchiha family's kaleidoscope. After all, the fame of kaleidoscopes, it's too big for Jiraiya and Tsunade to relax. In Jiraiya's eyes, I saw the three Guyu in Patriarch Uchiha's writing wheel spinning rapidly, and then seemed to be connected into a whole, and then his writing wheel had completely changed, and the three gooses were completely disappeared, replaced by a cross-shaped pattern. Is this the legendary kaleidoscope writing wheel? Such a powerful sense of oppression, even I can't ignore this powerful force. It is said that each kaleidoscope writing wheel has different abilities. I don't know if his kaleidoscope has what ability. Looking at the kaleidoscope of the Uchiha clan, Jiraiya's whole body tensed instantly. While guarding the Uchiha clan's sudden attack, he secretly pondered the information about the kaleidoscope, and was still speculating about the ability of the Uchiha clan's kaleidoscope to write round eyes. Amaterasu. But there is no need to think about it anymore. The Uchiha clan chief answered his doubts in the next moment, only to see the cross in Uchiha's writing wheel eyes turn, and then a dark flame was released from his right eye. And then rushed towards Zillai also. This is black flames. Seeing the flame released by Uchiha's right eye, Jiraiya immediately felt a huge threat from the flame. Without any hesitation, Jiraiya pulled Tsunade and immediately disappeared in place with a blinking technique. Boom! The moment Jiraiya and Tsunade disappeared, the kaleidoscope of Amaterasu immediately burned to the place where the two were standing, and then everything that came into contact with the flame was burned to the ground, and the flame hadn't disappeared, it was still on the ground. It burned continuously, and soon a deep hole was burned out of the ground. Is this his kaleidoscope power? What a terrifying flame! After reappearing, Zilai also glanced at the place burned by the flames, then condensed in his heart, and said in a solemn tone. If Zhang Yang is here, you will find that the Amaterasu of the Uchiha Patriarch is far worse than the Amaterasu of Itachi and Sasuke in the anime. Their Amaterasu is not only instant, but can use Amaterasu to attack wherever the eyes can see. Compared with their use of Amaterasu, the Uchiha Patriarch is undoubtedly a lot worse. However, even if it can't catch up with Itachi and Sasuke's Amaterasu, Uchiha's Amaterasu is still not to be underestimated. Although the release speed is not so fast, the characteristics of Amaterasu itself have not been weakened in the slightest. And what are the characteristics of Amaterasu? That is, it will continue to burn until the target is burned, and unless it is sealed as in the original book, Amaterasu will continue to burn. In the face of this unquenchable flame, even Kakashi could not be indifferent when he saw it, not to mention that no one knows the characteristics of Amaterasu at all, which undoubtedly enhances the mystery of Amaterasu. Because Amaterasu feels extremely powerful threat, even if he doesn't know Amaterasu's characteristics, whenever the Uchiha clan leader releases Amaterasu to attack himself, Jiraiya will quickly dodge. However, the speed of Jiraiya is very fast, but if you stay for a long time, you will lose. After dodging several times, Jiraiya's heart can't help but feel a little anxious, and just constantly dodging makes Jiraiya's image look a little embarrassed. Haha, Tsunade, did you see that? That's the power of a kaleidoscope. Seeing Jiraiya dodging in embarrassment, Chief Uchiha continued to release Amaterasu to attack Jiraiya while speaking loudly to Tsunade. Jiraiya did not answer the words of the Uchiha clan leader. He was still constantly dodging Amaterasu's attack, and at the same time secretly looking for the weakness of the Uchiha clan leader. He believed that such a powerful flame would definitely have a weakness. Like Itachi said, there is no perfect art in the world. Damn, I'm still not proficient in using Amaterasu, and Amaterasu consumes too much pupil power. It seems that I can't continue to use it. Otherwise, I will lose first before I can solve the two of them. What the two of them didn't know was that Patriarch Uchiha was more anxious than him if he couldn't attack for a long time, and Amaterasu could not be released indefinitely. Amaterasu consumes a lot of kaleidoscope pupil power. Even with the pupil power of the Uchiha Patriarch, it is impossible to release too many times, and now he has released a lot of times. Chapter 334 The Blessed Fireball. Feeling the sour feeling from his right eye, Uchiha Patriarch finally stopped releasing Amaterasu, and then looked at Jiraiya, who was panting heavily on the opposite branch, with an ugly expression. Why don't you continue? It seems that you can't release the pupil technique indefinitely. Judging from your appearance, it will take a lot to release the flame just now, right? Realizing that the Uchiha clan leader had stopped attacking with Amaterasu, although Jiraiya was still breathing, he was secretly relieved. At this time, he also guessed that the flames just now consumed a lot of Uchiha's Patriarch, so he couldn't help but open his mouth to test the Uchiha Patriarch. But think about it, even the flame just now felt a great threat to him. How could the Uchiha clan unleashed infinitely? When Chief Uchiha really stopped Amaterasu's release, Tsunade felt a balance in his heart. Hey, don't be complacent, you were very embarrassed just now, and Amaterasu is just one of my kaleidoscope abilities, you know, you have two eyes. Hearing Jiraiya's temptation, Uchiha's face suddenly became even more ugly. In his opinion, Jiraiya was mocking him. Of course, Uchiha stopped, so he immediately mocked the two of them mercilessly. And also reminded Jiraiya that he has more than one kaleidoscope ability. Is that black flame called Amaterasu just now? What? Kaleidoscope has more than one ability, is there any other ability? I don't know what it is, and how is it compared to the Amaterasu flame just now? After hearing the words of the Uchiha clan leader, Jiraiya also moved in his heart, knowing that the name of the black flame that made him feel very dangerous just now was called Amaterasu. but then Tsunade suddenly became nervous again, because from the words of the Uchiha clan leader, you can clearly know the ability of the kaleidoscope. More than one. Jiraiya couldn't help but guess what other abilities of the kaleidoscope of the Uchiha clan leader, compared to Amaterasu, I don't know how. This made Jiraiya involuntarily vigilant and fully guarded against the other abilities of the Uchiha clan leader. Kaleidoscope. The power of blessing. Fire escape. The art of fireball. However, Jiraiya's contemplative expression misunderstood the Uchiha clan leader. He regarded Jiraiya's contemplation as disdain for him, which made the Uchiha clan leader's anger burn in an instant, and then directly launched his own kaleidoscope. Another ability. What? Is this really the art of fireball? Is this also one of the abilities of the kaleidoscope? The two of them were in a state of shock when they saw the technique of the fireballs released by the Uchiha patriarch. Even with his mentality of Furui Bubo over the years, he couldn't help being shaken at the moment. It was really surprising what Jiraiya also saw. I saw that the Uchiha patriarch unleashed some kind of fireball technique. Whether it was temperature or size, it was not a fireball, right? Not only Tsunade and the other two, as long as the ninjas who saw this scene, all stared at this fireball that was no longer a fireball with shocking eyes. Have you ever seen a fireball with a diameter of more than 100 meters? You must know that the average fireball technique is only about a few meters in diameter at most. Even people who are proficient in fire escape can only release fireballs with a diameter of more than 10 meters. How can there be a fireball with a diameter of 100 meters like now? It is really unimaginable. Haha, Tsunade, have you seen it? This is another ability of my kaleidoscope, which can bless any fire ninjutsu power, but the chakra used is not positive. How can you fight against me? Today is yours, Doomsday. Seeing the two people who were stunned by his attack, the Uchiha chief finally smiled, and then said to Jiraiya with a big laugh. Sure enough, this is also the power of the kaleidoscope, now it's troublesome. After hearing the words of the Uchiha clan leader, Tsunade suddenly looked bitter. He didn't expect that the Uchiha clan leader actually gave him such a surprise. Although he could only bless the power of Huodun, it was undoubtedly a blessing for the Uchiha clan leader who was already proficient in Huodun. With such a blessing, the fire escape power of the Uchiha patriarch has increased by at least 10 times, which is naturally not good news for everyone in Konoha. Water escape. The great waterfall technique. Seeing the huge fireball coming towards him, Jiraiya also frowned, and he could only use the technique of the waterfall to fight against it. He didn't have a plug-in like the Uchiha clan leader, and the fire escape that he used casually could magnify more than 10 times without consumption. From this, it can be seen how abnormal the kaleidoscope ability of the Uchiha clan leader is. Although he does not have the ability to directly attack the enemy, he is more terrifying than Amaterasu. Think about how people of the same level suddenly attack more than him. More than 10 times, and the consumption is still the same as myself, which is a bit difficult. Jiraiya now facing the Uchiha patriarch is this feeling, a feeling of helplessness. It was obvious that they were evenly matched just now, and even they were stronger, but in an instant, they became the weaker party, which made Jiraiya and Tsunade feel very uncomfortable. Boom boom boom. Fire escape. The technique of the arrogant fire dragon. Ninja. Shunjutsu. Jiraiya once again used the old technique to perform the telekinesis technique to evade the high-level ninjutsu of the Uchiha patriarch. This is not the technique of the arrogant fireball just now, and Jiraiya cannot resist it at all. Jiraiya has been completely suppressed since Clan Uchiha used the blessing power of the kaleidoscope. There is no way. Ordinary Huodun Jiraiya can also use high-level ninjutsu to fight, but in the face of Clan Uchiha, he can also use high-level ninjutsu. After the ninjutsu, Jiraiya was unable to resist, and could only choose to avoid. Ha ha ha, don't hide, weren't you very powerful just now? Aren't you a toad fairy? Why did you just scare you like this with just a mere fire escape? Seeing that Jiraiya was forced to flee in embarrassment once again, the Uchiha clan chief laughed and mocked the 3 generations. The voice was so loud that even those who were far away from their battlefield could clearly hear it. Cough cough. Jirai also ignored the taunting of the Uchiha clan leader, and finally got a chance to breathe. Jirai also let go of Tsunade and naturally had to make a good adjustment. There is no time to ignore the taunting of the Uchiha clan leader. Besides, this is not the first one. The time was ridiculed, and Jiraiya slowly calmed down. However, this is not the way to go, we have to find a way to change the situation. Although Jiraiya himself didn't care much about the ridicule of the Uchiha patriarch, he knew that his failure to respond would only reduce his own momentum, while Uchiha's momentum would be higher, before their plan was completed. This will undoubtedly cause a lot of trouble before, after all, they are out of a disadvantage now. Chapter 335 Damn, it is indeed the task of becoming Hokage. No matter how I say it, there is no flaw. Even if I have a kaleidoscope, I am not his opponent. Fortunately, we Uchiha have the advantage this time. Otherwise, I really don't want to fight with him. However, what Jirai didn't know was that the patriarch Uchiha was also very depressed at the moment. Even if he kept pressing Jirai, he was fighting, but only he knew that the ability of the kaleidoscope could not be used for a long time, even with the power of blessing. It consumes much less pupil power than Amaterasu, but it also cannot support him in a long battle. The reason why he kept mocking Jiraiya like this was to disrupt Jiraiya's heart, and then find an opportunity to re-inflict Jiraiya. Don't look at the fact that they fought for a long time before, but they didn't cause any major damage to the opponent, even minor injuries, and the biggest consumption was only chakra. Patriarch Uchiha is also very helpless about this, but there is nothing he can do. After all, the three generations are the powerhouses at the peak of the shadow level. Even if he opens Kaleidoscope, Patriarch Uchiha can only suppress him temporarily, so it is possible to rely on some not very glorious means to make Jiraiya show his flaws. It is a pity that Jirai is indeed a person who has experienced many years of hardships. No matter how the Uchiha clan taunts, he will not be moved, but fortunately now, it seems that the Uchiha clan has the upper hand, which brings some comfort to the Uchiha clan. In the opinion of the Uchiha patriarch, the individual's combat power in this battle is nothing, as long as Uchiha can completely suppress or even defeat the three generations of people, then they will become the final winners, and then they will even lose to them. The two of them are nothing, because the Uchiha family is the victor. And the reason why he not only ridiculed Jirai, but also exposed his flaws, was also to attack the morale of Tsunade. After all, Tsunade was their pillar and leader. These people saw that their spiritual pillar was suppressed by themselves. Can only hide and hide, what would you think? The whereabouts of morale is certain. Such a means of killing multiple birds with one stone will naturally be used continuously by the Uchiha patriarch. Otherwise, knowing that his words will not bring any harm to the three generations, why does the Uchiha clan keep ridiculing? This is all a routine. Just as the two were thinking about each other, the other ninjas who had been paying attention to the two of them also developed according to the script they imagined. As time went by, the people on Tsunade's side became less and less able to fight, and the casualties were getting bigger and bigger. On the contrary, the people of the Uchiha family were fighting more and more fiercely, and the casualties were reduced a lot. The situation is gradually becoming one-sided, but it is strange that although Tsunade has seen this situation, there is not much worry on her face. Although it is true that Vivi frowned, but in general as if she wasn't worried, as if she didn't care that more and more people died on her side. Haha, Tsunade, have you seen it? Uchiha has completely suppressed your people now. You will fail sooner or later. If you surrender now, I can consider letting go of the incompetent people in your family. You should consider it. Go. At this time, the Uchiha clan chief spoke again, but this time, instead of mocking Tsunade, he persuaded him to surrender, and promised that as long as Tsunade and Jiraiya surrendered, the incompetent people of the Senju family would be spared. Oh, I didn't expect that the patriarch of the dignified Uchiha clan would say such unnutritious words. Do you think I would believe such words? However, in the face of Uchiha's patriarch's persuasion, Tsunade said to him with a cold expression. Although he did not show it on his face, the sarcasm in his tone was merciless. HMPH, since you don't want to, then go to die, don't worry, I will send your family down to accompany you after you die. Hearing Tsunade's mockery of Uchiha's patriarch's expression instantly stiffened, then his face became icy, and then he said to Tsunade in a cold tone. Haha, it's a pity to disappoint you. Not only will I not die today, but you, Uchiha, are destined to be the losers. Seeing Patriarch Uchiha's ugly face, Jiraiya first said a few times, and then said to him seriously. Huh, what's the matter, how can he still laugh? Patriarch Uchiha was full of doubts. In the face of their own threats, the two of them not only did not show concern, but showed a relieved expression, which made Patriarch Uchiha somewhat confused, but although he did not understand why, but Jiraiya's strangeness made him suddenly vigilant. It's almost time, Jongyang and Kakashi should have almost solved it, right? It's time to fight back. But Tsunade completely ignored what Patriarch Uchiha was thinking. At this moment, he was silently counting the time, which was related to their plan and the key to this victory. Since the beginning of the battle, Tsunade has been waiting, counting the time, and now, he has finally waited for this critical time, and then it is time to counterattack. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Boom bang bang. The moment Tsunade smiled, there was a sharp air-breaking sound from all over the village, followed by the sound of bursts of fireworks, and at the same time, a special fireworks bloomed in the sky. What's going on? Where are the fireworks, and who is setting them off? The ninjas who were fighting were all taken aback by the sudden explosion, and then they all said nervously to their companions. Not only the ninjas of Uchiha, but even the ninjas of the three generations were taken aback by these fireworks, and obviously they didn't understand how someone would suddenly set off fireworks at this time. No, it's not a fireworks, it's a flare. What's going on? How come there are so many flares all of a sudden? However, the experienced ninja quickly recovered and immediately realized that something was wrong. This was not a fireworks at all, but a signal flare that the ninjas used to communicate. However, although they had already seen that it was a flare, they did not understand why so many flares were suddenly raised in the village. This is a flare, and it's not Uchiha's flare, could it be? At this time, the Uchiha patriarch suddenly changed his face, and then looked at Tsunade with an ugly face. His eyes were full of questions. Cough, I said earlier, since we already knew your Uchiha's purpose, how could we be unprepared? Seeing Patriarch Uchiha's look as if he was about to eat him, Jiraiya coughed twice to ease the breath he had just fought, and then said to Patriarch Uchiha with a smile on his face. Chapter 336. The plan was successful. Damn, you actually have a backer, but so what? Uchiha is stronger than you both in terms of quantity and quality. Even if you were prepared, can you still turn over? After listening to Tsunade's words, the Uchiha clan chief secretly said, sure enough, the signal flare that suddenly appeared was related to Tsunade and the others, which made his face even more ugly, and his face was gloomy as if it was about to drip. Then I don't know if it was a test or what, the Uchiha patriarch said to the two of them with a bit of gritted teeth. Yes, this is true under normal circumstances, but we also have a way to deal with it, as long as people first solve Uchiha's top combat power, and then the remaining medium and low combat power is nothing. That's our response. Now Tsunade is not going to hide anything anymore. Anyway, their plan has been successful, and there is no need to hide it anymore, so he told the Uchiha patriarch of his plan. No, it's impossible, even the top combat power Uchiha is better than you. Even if your three disciples and the top combat powers of the major families are all dispatched, they can't be Uchiha's opponent. This plan, how could it be possible? However, after listening to Tsunade's words, Uchiha's patriarch has a look of disbelief. He has long known the combat power of Tsunade's side, and he knows that it is impossible to be Uchiha's opponent with the remaining combat power. How could the absurd plan succeed? The Uchiha patriarch looked at Tsunade with dissatisfaction, apparently thinking that Tsunade was fooling himself. That's right, even if Kakashi and the top fighting forces of the major families are all deployed, they are not Uchiha's opponents, but what if we have another shadow-level powerhouse here? Faced with the rebuttal of the Uchiha clan leader, Tsunade is not surprised. If he is the current Uchiha clan leader, he will not believe that this plan will be successful, but it will be different when there is one more shadow-level powerhouse in this plan. Shadow-level powerhouses are enough to change a situation. What? How is it possible? How can you still have shadow-level powerhouses? Kakashi should still be on his way back now. It's impossible for him to return to the village so soon. Sure enough, after listening to Tsunade's explanation, the Uchiha clan grew up surprised, and then he was full of shock and asked Tsunade aloud. At this moment, the Uchiha clan no longer had the prestige he had before. In his eyes, there was nothing but shock but worry, although his reason made him not. He should have believed Tsunade's words, but his heart was still shaken. No, it can't be Kakashi's. Are there other shadow-level powerhouses in the village? But is this possible? The Uchiha patriarch absolutely did not believe that Kakashi might return to the village, and then he guessed that there were other shadow-level powerhouses in the village, but this may be lower. After all, as the village's security department, Uchiha's combat power against the village is not enough. I know very well that Patriarch Uchiha does not believe that his family will not even be able to investigate a shadow-level powerhouse. It's Kai. What? The Uchiha clan leader who was thinking suddenly heard Tsunade's words, so he returned subconsciously. I said that the shadow-level powerhouse is Matekai. Seeing Patriarch Uchiha come back to his senses, Tsunade kindly told him the answer again, but Jiraiya smiled and disappeared. Shadow clone, this is impossible. After listening to Tsunade's words and seeing Jiraiya's avatar, the Uchiha clan leader said subconsciously without thinking. If Tsunade was talking about someone else, the Uchiha clan leader might think about it, but what Tsunade said was Matkei. However, now Tsunade said that the shadow-level powerhouse who broke Uchiha's plan was actually Kai. How could the Uchiha patriarch believe that? Not to mention the Uchiha patriarch, I'm afraid no one will believe that Kai, the Wanian Genin, is actually a shadow-level powerhouse, right? Haha, isn't it hard to believe? I couldn't believe it when I first heard the news, but it's a fact. The reason why our plan was successful, Kai took a lot of credit. It's precisely because we didn't people know that he is a shadow-level powerhouse, so this plan can be implemented so smoothly. Seeing Patriarch Uchiha's unbelievable expression, Tsunade couldn't help laughing bitterly. When he heard Kakashi's information about Kai, it was not like Patriarch Uchiha's expression, but the reality was cruel to everyone. A slap. No one would have thought that Wanian, who was unknown in the village, was actually a strong man comparable to Hokage. Should we say that all of them are blind? Or is it that Kai is hiding too deeply? Tsunade was very fortunate when he heard the news, fortunate that the village did not kick Kai out of the ninja academy at that time, and even more fortunate that Kai's character was very good. Otherwise, let alone now there is a whole card to protect Konoha, Kai may still be. It will be a disaster for the village, and Jiraiya, who knows 8 inner gates, knows how perverted Dai will be after opening the 8 gates. Is this true? But how is this possible? Isn't he a ninja who doesn't even know how to ninjutsu? Seeing Tsunade's expression, Patriarch Uchiha's heart moved, and then he thought with some shaking in his heart. At this moment, Patriarch Uchiha has no idea what his mood is. There is panic, hatred, and perhaps a trace of regret. It's time to start. At this time, Tsunade spoke again. Unknowingly, Tsunade and Uchiha clan leader seemed to be reversed. Now it is Tsunade who speaks more than Uchiha clan leader, but Uchiha clan leader has become a little silent. As if immersed in his own world. What? Suddenly hearing Tsunade speak again, Uchiha clan chief responded subconsciously. However, there is no need for Tsunade to remind him again. I saw that with the launch of the signal bomb just now, I don't know when. There are suddenly many masked ninjas on the battlefield, and everyone with them can know by looking at them. This is Anbu, members of course, members of the Root. Go ahead and destroy all Uchiha's rebellion. After these Anbu and Genbu members arrived on the battlefield, there were no extra words. As the leading Anbu gave orders loudly, these Anbu and Genbu members who had just arrived on the battlefield immediately rushed towards the Uchiha clan's ninjas to start a new round of killing. And when these Anbu and Genbu started to work, both Uchiha's ninjas and Tsunade's ninjas were still in a state of daze. They were really shocked by this sudden personnel. These people obviously found that just now, although there are not many Anbu and Genbu who come, but everyone is an elite, and the lowest strength is the strength of the ninja. And some attentive people also found that each of these Anbu and roots has a strong murderous aura, and some broken clothes and blood stains on them all indicate that they have just experienced a battle. Chapter 337 Uchiha's Exit. Faced with the sudden siege, the Uchiha patriarch sighed. As expected of Tsunade, to be able to die and live again, let me have the upper hand at first, thinking that you are already a turtle in a urn. Patriarch Uchiha obviously still couldn't accept this sudden change. He widened his eyes and roared. Even if Uchiha will be annihilated here today, it will be glorious. Uchiha's people will never choose to live on and on. Although Uchiha's demise is a matter of time, but listening to the patriarch's words, it seems that Tsunade is the villain. It didn't take long for the people of Anbu and Genbu to take down all Uchiha's rebellion. The Uchiha clan leader who was captured is still invincible. He didn't think that this failure was because of Uchiha's own strength, but he didn't expect that Matekai actually had the strength of Shadow. So for Tsunade and Konoha, he was still not convinced. Although Tsunade said that he wanted to annihilate the Uchiha clan, he couldn't bear it anymore. After all, he was a member of the village. And there are quite a few people outside who are in awe of the strength of the Uchiha guard. But now that such a big thing is happening in the village, if people outside the village know about Uchiha's betrayal, someone will definitely take the opportunity to commit it. Moreover, the ninjas with higher rebellious abilities in Uchiha have been subdued by Kai. If the patriarch is taken into custody, it may be possible to slightly change Uchiha's future. At this time, Sakura and Sasuke also joined Kakashi and the others, and Sasuke was stunned when they saw the scene in front of them. With such a large scope of destruction, while Jongyang was standing in front of the huge pit unscathed, Sasuke couldn't help sighing how strong this person was. And Orochimaru also saw Jongyang's true strength and laughed. You are the container I have been looking for. What a beautiful and perfect fighting technique. Why don't you practice with me? Our strength will definitely be able to change the future of the ninja world. But Jongyang was unmoved. He knew that what Orochimaru wanted was just to seek the ultimate ninjutsu, and he was not worried about the life and death of the ninja at all. Maybe, we'll meet later. After leaving this sentence, Orochimaru disappeared, and Jongyang had no intention of chasing after him. After he asked about Kakashi and Shiro's injuries, he took them back to Konoha. Returning to the village, the sight in front of me was shocking. Although Jongyang knew for a long time that there would be a war between Uchiha and Wudai today, but now Sasuke saw it. This matter was originally kept secret from Sasuke. Tsunade once said, the grievances of the previous generation should not be burdened by the next generation. But when something like this happened, I think the paper couldn't wrap the fire. According to the procedure, Jongyang needed to report to the Hokage office, so he sent Sasuke a few words, handed Kakashi and the others over to the medical class, and went to the Hokage office alone. Tsunade was standing in front of the window at the moment, and when he saw Jongyang coming, he planned to discuss with him how to deal with Uchiha. Although some people have agreed to coexist peacefully with Konoha now. And from the current point of view, among the people of the Uchiha clan, the most prestigious Itachi is already joinin, and Sasuke is his own disciple. There is no guarantee that there will not be a second person who wants to imitate the Uchiha clan leader in the future. So for the safety of the village, the Uchiha clan must be wiped out. When Jongyang heard it, his face was embarrassed. If Konoha shot on the bright side, Sasuke's hatred would be the same as the original. But since things have already happened, forget about it. Maybe a different start will change the direction of this thing a bit. 5 generations, I think the Uchiha people who agree to live peacefully with Konoha can still be the same as before. As for talents like Itachi and Sasuke, they need to be cultivated. Itachi will never betray Konoha. Please 5 generations. Don't worry, my lord, as for Sasuke, I believe he will understand. Go look at Sakura and Sasuke. As for the plan you mentioned, I will consider it. Tsunade replied with a thoughtful look on his face. Okay, then I'll go back first. At this time, Sasuke seemed to understand something. Most of the people here are Anbu people, and they look different. Although those people wear cat face masks, the deep malice can be felt even through the masks. The coldness of disgust that permeates one's bones. Although I knew for a long time that the conflict between the family and the village started at Madara, my brother worked hard for the village, and nothing major happened to Uchiha recently. But Sasuke just had an ominous premonition, and when he went out in the morning, this uneasy intuition always accompanied him. Now that feeling seems to be getting stronger and stronger, Sasuke runs back to his home, only to find it empty. He ran like crazy on the road. How could this happen? How could this happen? Sasuke finally stopped in front of the guard team, looked at the family crest of the Uchiha family above, and clenched his fists. He rushed to Hokage's office. Why, where did the 5 generations drive the Uchiha clan to? Tsunade was not surprised at the appearance of Sasuke. He calmly said to Sasuke, Sasuke, the interests of the village are higher than the interests of individuals. If the Uchiha clan only puts the village in the heat of water for the sake of personal interests, if you, what to choose? Although his tone was flat, Tsunade was actually testing Sasuke. She wasn't sure about Sasuke's decision, which was too much for a child. She needs an accurate answer. At this time, the atmosphere in the Hokage office was very scary and very quiet. Sasuke knows what this means, but is it possible to slaughter a family just for the sake of the village? At this time, Sasuke was as pure as Itachi gave him, so he was easily attacked by hatred. After a while, Tsunade first broke the terrible atmosphere. This is a choice you should make, but it will give you time to think about it. It is not an easy choice, but I believe you will not let me down. Sasuke, you go back first. Tsunade spoke as softly as possible, without the tone of command at all. After Sasuke left, Tsunade went to the window and asked, is that right? Maybe that child will embark on the road of revenge, but this is something that must be done to settle the grievances for so many years. If he really chooses the wrong one, then it will be just fine to correct it later. Answered in a lazy tone. You're still the same, Jiraiya. This Uchiha mutiny has been temporarily suppressed, but Tsunade is still scruples about Uchiha Hitomi. Although Jiraiya has a leisurely tone, he has to pay attention to this family. They would not have thought that this incident would change the future of Konoha. However, this is all for later. Chapter 338 Sasuke's Choice. The sky was already dark, and Sasuke still sat blankly on his wooden board. What kept repeating in my mind was Tsunade's words. If the Uchiha clan made the village become hot with water for their own benefit, if it were you, what choice would you make? Not a member of the village. Is it possible to sacrifice Uchiha for the benefit of the village? At this moment, Sasuke suddenly felt that the people in the village seemed to have always held a strange view towards him, just like they did to Naruto, although it was not as serious as Naruto. Maybe it's really a psychological problem. After discovering what other people are targeting at him, he seems to feel that the world has deep malice towards him. It was quiet outside, and the wind was a bit strong. Itachi also completed the task and returned home, but he knew that Sasuke was at home, and this was his task to confirm Sasuke's choice. It was about the village, and he understood that this incident would affect Sasuke's life. Itachi looked at Sasuke sitting on the wooden board, walked over and patted Sasuke on the shoulder. Sasuke, what are you thinking? Sasuke raised his head sharply and stared at his brother with wide eyes. Itachi, did you know? Do you know why the Uchiha clan suddenly broke with the village? Why are you still here? A lot of questions it came out of Sasuke's mouth. Itachi looked into his eyes and calmly looked at his favorite younger brother. He was really pure. He said indifferently, Sasuke, the conflict between Uchiha and the village is not irreversible. This is something that requires the efforts of your new generation. But the patriarch can't bear Uchiha's long-term isolation, so he will cause a mutiny. But Sasuke, it's not absolutely right or wrong. Anyway, no matter what you choose, I love you the same. Sasuke was stunned at this time, with an expression of disbelief. What about the Uchiha guard? Father, and what my brother has done for Konoha? Itachi looked at his younger brother, who was dominated by hatred in front of him, and didn't know how to explain it. Is it still too early? He thought to himself. Early the next morning, Jongyang went to the ninja hospital to visit Kakashi and the others, and saw Kakashi lying on the bed, leaning on his side, as if he was turning over something, but he didn't notice Jongyang's arrival at all. It wasn't until Jongyang stood beside the bed and coughed twice that he was suddenly startled, scratching his head with his left hand with an apologetic look on his face, and hiding a book in his right hand behind him. Don't think about it, it must be intimacy heaven. Jongyang smiled at Kakashi, but did not speak. Kakashi asked first, is it about Sasuke? Jongyang nodded. Sasuke's current thoughts are about Konoha. Although the village is a last resort, he is also the key to resolving the grievances between the village and the Uchiha family for many years. Although Kakashi didn't understand why Jongyang was so absolute, he really didn't want Sasuke to go astray. I believe him. Kakashi just said this, although Jongyang already understood. Sure enough, it's still the same as Kakashi in the original. However, he is still worried that if his personality cannot be changed, then what will still happen. But now Itachi is still there, and he is still Sasuke's big brother, so there is still room for recovery in this matter. Therefore, Jongyang condoled Kakashi a few words and went to Sasuke. He should still be at home, Jongyang thought to himself. And Sasuke, he didn't sleep all night, he really didn't understand Itachi's thoughts. He has always been regarded as the pride of the Uchiha clan by his father, but now he still chooses to serve Konoha. Is the clan not worth mentioning in Itachi's eyes? While Sasuke was still thinking, Jongyang knocked on the door. Who? It's me, Jongyang. Sasuke got up and faced Jongyang with an inquiring tone. Is it the fifth Hokage who asked you to monitor me? Sasuke, who was still hesitating in his heart, saw Jongyang's arrival and seemed to understand what the patriarch did. Jongyang also just stood motionless, and found that Sasuke Futaba had changed from a single hook jade writing wheel eye to a double hook jade writing wheel eye at this time. Jongyang shook his head. Said that he was not here to monitor. Don't pretend, Konoha will still let us Uchiha clansmen go. Jongyang looked at Sasuke in front of him and couldn't help sighing that it turned out that the Uchiha clan really attached great importance to love. I'm afraid I can't convince Sasuke with words now. After all, Sasuke's personality is known very well. Once he turns into a dead end, I'm afraid it will take a long time to get out. Moreover, Sasuke was hostile to Jongyang when they first met, and it is even more difficult to convince him under the current situation. Fire escape great fireball technique. Jongyang realized Sasuke's hatred and quickly dodged. And because Sasuke opened the blood wheel eye, he could gradually see Zhong-like movements. Although the eyes could keep up with the consumption of the blood wheel eye on the body still couldn't adapt quickly. It didn't take long, the attack stopped. At this time, Jongyang said, Hey, did you greet the guests like this? It's really childish. However, Sasuke just stared straight at Jongyang, and he understood that his and Jongyang's strengths were really different. As for Jongyang, watching Sasuke staring at him like this, he accidentally blurted out, I also understand that I'm handsome, but you don't have to look at me like that. I like Nico. He was teasing and making a relaxed expression, but he still had to be cautious when facing Sasuke with bloody eyes. Although he wanted to ease the tense atmosphere, Sasuke thought it was a provocation. Hey, it's not the first time I've misunderstood anyway. The ideas of geniuses are always different from those of ordinary people. Jongyang also smiled helplessly. Well, don't be so impulsive first, impulsiveness is the devil. Can you talk calmly during the conversation? Zhang Yang smiled. Sasuke also thought that his behavior was a bit inappropriate at the moment, although he still wanted to defeat Zhang Yang. For now, it is better not to use force to solve it. Moreover, knowing oneself and knowing one another can help you win 100 battles. There are too many mysteries in this Zhang Yang, which needs to be well understood. If you want to say something, say it quickly, and leave when you're done. It's so annoying, I'm here mainly to see you. HMPH, you want to spy on me, isn't Uchiha's genocide an order from the 5th generation? It's true, Zhang Yang didn't deny it, but it's not surveillance, it's just to understand your movements. I know you love the village, and you've probably made a choice, so no matter how I advise you it's useless. But I want to tell you that Kakashi, Wudai, and Naruto all believe in you, and we all believe in you. Maybe you have doubts about the village now, with anger and confusion. Even if you are dominated by hatred in the future, Kakashi and I will never give up on you. The growth of Konoha undoubtedly involves sacrifice, but sacrifice the meaning is to let later people understand the dedication and unity of the increasingly powerful village, not to let you destroy. Quote. After speaking, Zhang Yang was about to get up and leave, and Sasuke said when Zhang Yang left, I won't leave Konoha until I defeat you. But I won't change my decision, everything I do will be the same. The person who can bear and judge will only be myself. Quote. Zhang Yang didn't turn around, he replied lazily, oh, then you have to work hard, after all, I am very strong. After that, he went out. Chapter 339 Temporary Calm. After Zhang Yang persuaded Sasuke, he suddenly found that he seemed to have a very strong mouth, and he couldn't help feeling that his skills were perfect. Although he said a lot to Sasuke, he was still a little worried. For people like Sasuke, it is simply a matter of time to surpass himself. Although it will not pose any harm in the short term, it should still be noted. He returned to Hokage's office to report to Wudai, and Itachi was there. After the report was over, Itachi stopped Zhang Yang and said with a serious face, my brother, I understand, if he does something to hurt Konoha, then I will stop him. Zhang Yang smiled, he understood that Itachi couldn't do anything to Sasuke at all, but he didn't say anything, just replied, Sasuke is in the new generation and won't take the road of the old generation. You can do this. Don't worry. Although he said so, Zhang Yang still couldn't keep up with Sasuke's transformation. But now Itachi is still there, at least it will have a different ending from the Hokage story he knows. So, at least for now, it can be changed. Konoha also began to rebuild after Uchiha's betrayal. To this end, Tsunade also deliberately held a meeting, mainly for this matter. Zhang Yang thought that this matter was not that simple, and always felt a little uneasy, and Fu Lang in his body said, you are not a person who appeared in this world, your appearance will cause some confusion in the time here. Maybe there will be the appearance of ordinary people who do not belong to this world may change the order of this world in serious cases. Quote. Long, you're talking like a dragon with a story. Zhang Yang joked, and after a pause, he said calmly, I will leave anyway. After I leave, maybe they will follow suit. If I go on living as I was, maybe they'll forget about me, that's so sad. Zhang Yang paused, then said, I try to leave traces of my life in this world, and when I leave, they won't even remember my existence, and the memories of things related to me that are happening now will be being eliminated. Kakashi will become the 6th Hokage in the future, Itachi may not die, Neji will be with Tien, everything is fine. It's just that I'm not here, so I don't know what will happen to Naiko. Will she meet another person she likes and forget about me and live with that person? But I don't think anyone can be with her at all. After all, I'm just a passerby. Zhang Yang thought of this and stopped talking. In fact, Konoha's afternoon was quite pleasant. The wind was blowing, and he could see Hokage's office from sitting here, just like a painting. It was almost evening when Zhang Yang returned home, and Naiko was waiting for him. Welcome back, Nizi said with a smile. Well, I'm back. Is it about Uchiha that made you think about it for so long? Jong Yang replied with a hippie smile. No, I'm thinking about what Naiko will cook tonight. Right. Kakashi-senpai said that we're going to eat barbecue today. Pack up and get ready to go. Naiko said in surprise, as if she had just remembered it. Of course Jong Yang was very happy, and readily agreed, okay. After arriving at the barbecue restaurant, Jong Yang found that it was not only himself and Naizi, but even Kai. He is still very interested in Mat K. During the barbecue, Kai said loudly, the fiery youth is as addictive as the barbecue. Well, let me, Matekai, fully reflect your values. Hey. Jong Yang is a little speechless, but this is Kai. He is always smiling and is in second grade, so it was so unexpected last time. Who would have thought that this ordinary person who doesn't know how to ninjutsu would actually know how to do it? Done armor technique. Although Jong Yang knew their abilities and characters for a long time, it was only after real contact with them that Jong Yang's understanding of Kai, Kakashi, and even Sasuke was deepened. Maybe this is a special kind of trial. Maybe there are other things waiting for him to do besides finding Folang. Jong Yang, pessimism is meaningless. If you want to be sad, make things perfect and then go sad. Everything that has been experienced here is already a valuable asset. Everyone was very happy at night. It seems that the Uchiha thing is no longer harmful, as if everything will be so peaceful. After Kakashi and Kai chatted that night, Kakashi said, you are really the only one who has been pestering me until now. I really convinced you. After so many years, it is only you. I can still walk by my side, thanks to the fact that I listened to my father's words and looked at you. If it weren't for you, I would have been defiant all the time. Then I'm now. Ha ha. Before he could finish speaking, he laughed out loud. Kai, who was on the side, replied, ha ha, Kakashi, I didn't expect you to be so frank, but you are my lifelong opponent, how can you be the same as ordinary people? Ha ha ha. Naiko on the side said with a smile, the relationship between the two is really good. After that, the two of them laughed together. Jong Yang listened inexplicably, although this is the friendship between two men, but it sounds strange, is it because he was influenced by the rotten girlfriend he knew before? Oh, no, they are pure revolutionary friendship. Don't think too much. Jong Yang suppressed that thought in his heart. He was muttering like this, but he was shouting carefully in his heart. In fact, it's not bad. These two people didn't get married later, could it be? Jong Yang shuddered. I'm a straight man, calm. When he didn't know that he was immersed in his own world, Kakashi and Kai looked at Jong Yang and asked him, Jong Yang, what are you thinking, talking to yourself for so long? No, ha ha ha. Jong Yang scratched his head with his hand as he spoke. This was his little act of lying. Then he picked up the drink and took another sip. After all, he was still a child biologically here. Looking at the two drunk Konoha A-rank ninjas in front of me, I can't help but think that this is actually not bad. However, the direction of things is always unsatisfactory. Just tonight, on the roof of the Hokage office, there was a man with a mask standing there, watching everything in Konoha, but the guards did not find it, as if the man it doesn't exist in general. After a while, a wolf's cry was heard in the distance. Since it was a full moon today, it was extraordinarily clear, but the people of Konoha didn't care too much. Everyone thought this was something that would normally happen, so no one paid attention. Chapter 340. A newly transmigrated person. Since I went to eat barbecue with Kakashi and the others last night, it was already noon for Jong Yang to wake up today, and the sunlight outside was so dazzling that people couldn't keep their eyes open. After a while, Jong Yang suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a new task today, which Tsunade gave him last night. It's too late. Jong Yang hurriedly got up to wash and rushed to Hokage's office in a hurry. Tsunade was already sitting in the chair waiting for him. Tsunade glanced at him, and when he saw Jong Yang, he said, the most basic thing when performing a ninja mission is to be punctual. You go out. You have to follow Asuma to the White Wolf. In the village, someone sent a secret letter last night saying that there was a ninja with special abilities last night and killed the men in the village. Now people in the village are panicking. You go and investigate. Understood. Zhang Yang said seriously. There are 3 people on this mission. Asma is the captain, Zhang Yang and Neji. Seeing Zhang Yang, Ningji looked impatient. How can someone who can't even be punctual come to the task arranged by Hokage-sama? Zhang Yang smiled. He was the one who made the mistake first. But I don't know why, but I'm always hostile or dissatisfied by the genius in Konoha. On the way to Bailong village, Asma explained to Zhang Yang and Ningki that everything should be done with caution, investigation should be the main focus, and conflicts should be avoided as much as possible. When they arrived, they found that the street was empty and very depressed, as if no one lived here at all. The doors of several households were open. Zhang Yang went over to take a look, and it was as if they had been turned over inside. However, there was blood on the ground, and Neji's white eyes didn't see anything. This village is really strange. Is the content of the secret letter from last night wrong? It wasn't just men who were killed, was it the slaughter of the village? Who can be so cruel? As they were about to go out, Neji found a child under the bed, shivering. Zhang Yang used to comfort him in a low voice and wanted to pull him out, but the child couldn't help crying after knowing that he was found, and his voice kept shaking. Asma said that perhaps the child's hands were too irritated and he needed to calm down. It is not easy for them to directly tell the child to be dragged out, so they have to pretend to leave. Asma went to the forest to investigate, while Neji and Zhang Yang stood guard outside the door. Although Zhang Yang's ability is enough, but for the future of Konoha, I hope he will have more contact with Konoha's ninjas. Shortly after Asma went out, Neji said with a serious expression, "No, someone, be careful." Zhang Yang also nodded. Suddenly there were 2 swishes. Zhang Yang ducked back, and there were 2 kuwu deeply embedded in the soil in the position just now. "No, let's go," Neji suddenly shouted. After Zhang Yang also realized the danger, a tall man suddenly appeared behind him. This head is covered with gauze, only the eyes and mouth are exposed. He held a big knife and fled to the side to hide. Now that he can look at this mysterious man carefully, he can't be called a person. His eyes seem to have no pupils, only the whites of the eyes, which makes people look cold behind. "Who is your excellency? Why did you attack us?" Zhang Yang asked, pulling out the kunai with his hand from his belt. The man didn't answer, and rushed over after a few seconds. "Zhang Yang, finally found you. So fast." Ningqi and Zhang Yang were surprised at the same time. The strange thing is that the man didn't attack Neji and the others, it seemed that he was specifically targeting Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang had no room to think, while Neji watched the man from the side. After a period of fighting with the fighting technique, Zhang Yang opened up the distance and quickly formed the technique of water evasion and water dragon bullets. At this time, 2 water dragons appeared behind Zhang Yang, attacking the mysterious man. And the man didn't hide, but he was obviously injured. After that, his speed was even faster, and Neji shouted, "Zhang Yang, that man doesn't have chakra in his body, but he can absorb your chakra, be careful." He rushed into the house and dragged the child out. Because of this kid, Zhang Yang couldn't fight with all his strength, worried that the aftermath of the battle would hurt him, and the space that the village could free up was too small. The child was still holding on to the foot of the bed, and Neji heard the sound of the seal outside, fire escape heroic dragon fire technique. "Oops!" Neji shouted, and then reacted quickly, wrapping himself and the child in a semicircular chakra, allowing Zhang Yang to fight with all his heart. However, what they didn't expect was that when Ningqi was distracted, the child actually took out a fragment of a broken bowl from his pocket and stabbed at Ningqi. Such a small child, who was so afraid of Zhang Yang just now, dared to stab Neji, and it didn't seem to be reckless at all. Ningqi only felt a pain in her body, and the moment she glanced down, the child raised his head, blood on the corners of his mouth, and looked at Ningqi with a smile. Neji couldn't maintain the chakra due to being stabbed, and the flames continued to burn. Just as the burning wood was about to fall, Asma appeared, which saved Neji. And the battle outside seemed to be almost over. The mysterious man suddenly disappeared, and the child didn't know where he went. Asma helped Ninki under the tree and said to the two of them, "There are wolf footprints in the forest, and it is impossible for a group of wolves to gather together this season. You must know that there are usually only 7 wolves gathered, but the footprints were clearly more than 7. Asma continued, "Not only are the footprints of wolves walking along the north of the village, there are also traces of fire, and the footprints of wolves are concentrated in these 2 places. There is a cave ahead. After I went in and looked at it, I found that someone really lived here. Isn't that weird?" Just as they were discussing, another kunai shot suddenly. This time, Asma blocked it. Kuwusheng has a sign that a person grows on a cross, which is somewhat similar to what Jesus looked like when he was executed. Zhang Yang looked at this sign. Could it be that what he is encountering now is someone who has traveled through other worlds like himself? Otherwise, this logo would never appear here. Fu Lang said something, which made Zhang Yang very puzzled. Maybe it's time to decide who to choose. Good luck, Zhang Yang. After speaking, there was no sound. No matter how Zhang Yang asked, Fu Lang did not speak again. Zhang Yang shook his head helplessly. Asma asked him if he was familiar with this sign, and he just replied, as if he had seen it, but he still couldn't remember it clearly. After all, he lost his memory, so it is understandable. He couldn't help but feel that the memory loss was a good excuse. He couldn't be bothered by the people in the TV series who lost their memory at every turn. I think it's also to reduce unnecessary things. Hearing Zhang Yang say this, Asma couldn't ask any more questions, but this sign of kunai was the key. Also, where did the rest of the village go? Who is that person who sent the letter? Not sure yet. The only certainty is that the man was in the company of wolves, and perhaps a child.